And let's hope he keeps on at it. Schools have got a lot to answer for. St Paul's and Hamilton started this fixation with Ben Brown. For 19 years, he has been a kayaker going to the extreme. And now he's put together a documentary. You may have seen some of the footage, but not all of it, in what is an extraordinary adventure that he has had. Third time on the show, is it? Yep. Third time.
Third time. Good to be back.
Tell us about what happened. What was the doco about South Island?
It was New Zealand-wide. It was a nationwide tour. Basically, for the last 10 or 11 years, I've been travelling the world, kayaking professionally, exploring the best white rod on the planet. And during that time, I've got a lot of experience. I've been involved with a lot of amazing productions and made some great friends. And I want to share this country, our adventures, with a broader audience.
So the audience, through Red Bull, will go international?
Yep, absolutely. The Flow Hunters project has been distributed by the Red Bull Media House, which is, you know, an international media company, and it's already been broadcast in New Zealand, and it's just gathering momentum as it goes. So,
who were you with?
I was with some friends from Mexico, Rafa, another good friend, Russ Sturgis from the United States, and another fellow Kiwi paddler, Jared Meehan.
So you brought these guys down here, and away you went.
Yeah.
Now let's have a look here and tell us, where are you here?
This is in the gates of Argonath in the Hokitika River. This is, you know, a lot of the rivers we paddled on the Flow Hunters for project were on the west coast of the South Island. Really remote rivers that require, you know, helicopters to access them, and you know, it's amazing to me to see these places that, you know, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, these amazing rivers are flowing there, and that was the motivation behind the project.
Well, that's all serene. Now we get to the waterfall, and down you come, and this is a start when people will start to think the guy is loopy. You know, what's going through your mind when you get into something like this?
At this point, nothing. You're just enjoying the ride. It's the leading up to this moment that can be a little bit scary, but you know, I think when you're standing at the lip of a big waterfall or looking at a huge rapid, it's the moments where you're trying to decide whether or not you want to paddle the rapid or whether or not it's going to be paddleable at all. They're the scary parts. Once you make that decision to go and you take that final paddle stroke past the point of no return, everything goes calm. You sort of drop into that flow state, you know, where you just acting.
Do you go and have a look at the water first?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only the years and years of experience that go into that. I mean, this waterfall that we're looking at right now, we stood there for hours and hours. We had, you know, we jumped into the bottom of the pool, we set up safety, we set up, you know, on this project we also had to set up filming angles and stuff as well. So, you know, what you see is the final product of a lot of work that's gone in.
Now, despite everything that you did, I want you to explain what happens in this incident that we're about to show, because I've seen it. And it blows me away. Tell us about it, Ben. What's happening here?
This is the Kokotai River on the west coast, which is, it's a pretty hard run. It's you know, it's a dangerous river, and this is the worst case scenario. This is what we call a siphon, where, you know, you saw Geordie there paddled the waterfall fine. He turned around to us to give us the all clear signal, and as you can see, we immediately see him get into trouble. And in that moment where he let his guard down, he got wedged into a little rock and got stuck, which, you know, as it first happened, looked pretty manageable, but it quickly escalated into a very, very serious situation. And as you see him now come into view, he's pinned between a small rock and that big boulder, and all that water you see there is flowing directly under that boulder to who knows where.
So, right, what happens? You get the rope to him
Right
first.
now he's wedged in. He can't, the boat is collapsing on his legs. He can't get his legs out of there. Jared's giving it, you know, almost a superhuman effort there to hold his head up above water just to give him a bit of air and try and pull him out. But, you know, in that situation, there's actually nothing that anyone can do. He's stuck. He's going under the water, trying to wiggle his knees free, while Jared's trying to pull him against that immovable force of water. And eventually he actually comes out of his boat, and in that instant, he's, you know, there's...
Did you think you'd lost him?
Absolutely. This is, you know, I've been kayaking for 20 years, and, you know, this is as close as it gets. People don't survive this. So, you know, this is an aspect of our sport that is a reality. It happens on a river, no matter how many precautions you take. And as we're looking at this, he's underneath that boulder doing...
So he's still there, and he's underneath the water the whole time now.
He's under the water the whole time. We don't know where he's gone. You can see Jared's at the, you know, the downstream end, and there he pops up in the middle of the flow, and
And takes off down.
Yeah, it takes off down, and that, you know, he's okay. He's breathing and moving, which is always a good sign. He sort of doesn't seem to notice that rope that's thrown at him. But another friend of ours, Dan, jumps in here and pulls him up to the shore. But I mean, as bad as that situation went, it went pretty well once it started to go bad. So, you know, it's an aspect of our sport, and these rivers are very humbling places, and every time you go on them, you've got to treat it as a learning experience. And you know, when you're dealing in a medium like water, things can go wrong, and when they do go wrong, you've got a very small time frame to try and make them go right.
In the 19 years you've been doing it, is that the closest you've ever come to losing a mate?
Yep, it's the closest I've ever come to losing a mate whilst I've been with them on a river. I mean, I've lost friends that, you know, haven't been so lucky, but yeah, it doesn't get any closer than that.
And what about you, Ben? What's the closest you've been?
I mean, I've had similar experiences to that. You know, I've had some quite serious injuries. I've broken a back, I've broken a shoulder, and it's like I say, in a river, the margin is so fine.
Right.
You're on a knife edge, so you know it might not always look as bad as it really is, and sometimes it looks a lot worse than it is. But you know, that is a very, very bad situation.
The footage we've just seen was all taken by a chopper?
Yeah, we had a Cineflex camera mounted on the...
A chopper's important in both getting you into the areas and also in taking all the footage.
Yeah, they're hugely important. I mean, it's particularly for accessing these rivers. They're the only way you can realistically access them. I mean, if you're, you know, some sort of high country hellman, you could carry your kayak in for several days into these spots. But, you know, we're lucky in New Zealand, and particularly on the West Coast, to have such a large number of helicopters, and they're still relatively inexpensive. In terms of filming from a helicopter, that was one of the big factors that I went into this trip. That was one of the things I really insisted on, because it's a way that you can really accurately capture these rivers in the South Island, because they're so remote, and not only that, they're surrounded by this just magnificent scenery, and that's definitely a privilege of this trip. That's something that hasn't really been done before.
Well, you also captured another incident, because there wasn't just the one. It was all happening on this particular trip. Talk us through this one as well, when Here She Blows. Yeah,
well, this is day 2 of the Mungo and then Upper Hokitika River. It's probably the hardest river on the west coast of the South Island. It's a multi-day trip. This is the morning of day 2, which is supposedly the easier of the 2 days. But you know, this particular waterfall was the second rapid on day 2, and Justin decided he wanted to fire it up first, and unfortunately, you know, went deep into the water there and got immediately pulled back into this sort of boxed-in cave behind the waterfall, which is another less than ideal situation, because you know the chance of rescue is pretty difficult in a situation like that, where you know
Now, have you got him on a rope, have you?
At the moment we haven't. We're just sort of throwing ropes blindly into the waterfall, hoping that he's behind there. At this point we had no idea, but you know, a minute or so went by and he managed to blow his whistle, which sort of renewed our rescue efforts, because we realised that he was in a somewhat stable position, and we actually managed to fish him out from above. You can see him starting to come out from the...
No, I can't. Where is he? Yes, there he comes.
Yeah. So that rope was where I was filming from up top, and we dropped that down, and it was almost like catching a fish. It suddenly went tight, and then we were faced with the task of trying to maintain some sort of grip on a really slippery rock, but worked out well again. You know, that's an example of, you know, whilst they're pretty dangerous environments, we had all the safety in place, and that rescue went amazingly well. So, you know, that's the trade-off of going into these dangerous places. Well,
let's get down to basics. We've got some general rapids. Explain to us how you negotiate rapids like these. What are you looking for?
There's no such thing as a general rapid. You're looking for, I guess, the line of least resistance. You know, it's all about, you know, analysing risks, analysing lines, figuring out where you think you can make a line down a rapid. A lot of this kayaking we do is about visualisation. You look at a rapid and you visualise yourself paddling the line, and when you've done that enough that you think you can actually stick that line you've visualised, then you go for it, and it normally works out pretty well. But yeah, sometimes not so well. But yeah.
The guys that you were with here, are these the best in the world?
Best in the world, yeah. Russian Rough are they've been leading the charge for the last couple of years. Right. Jared from New Zealand, he's been at the top of his game at a competitive slalom level for many years, and then more recently on the sort of expedition kayaking. And yeah, that was another insistence I had, was that I chose a team to bring down here that, you know, I knew would work well together, would look after each other.
Did you know this was going to be very dangerous?
Kayaking's a dangerous thing, and in New Zealand we're such a new, you know, geographically we're such a new country. The rivers are always changing, and that brings with it a whole nother set of dangers. And you know, while it's an individual sport, you need a solid team that can look after each other, and that's why it was so important.
The rapids, the exciting part of it.
The rapids are a huge part of it, but the whole journey aspect as well. You know, you're going into these places with a small group of guys all working towards a common goal, and I guess you know, it's the same with a lot of sports. But you know, in this particular case, you're cold and you're wet and you're scared, but you're still incredibly motivated to get to the bottom of the river.
The footage is extraordinary, and you know, we've had some amazing footage on this program over the years, but this, I think, beats anything we've had. If people want to see the full doco, how do they go about getting it?
The best thing to do is to log on to redbull.co.nz. There's a couple of teasers there, one extended one. And then if they just hold fire for a month or two, we'll have a full film version ready to go that'll be touring New Zealand nationwide, and then further on from that there'll be a download.
And what's next up
iTunes.
for you then, once you've got that finished?
I'm going to hang out here for a couple months, or a month, and then I'm going to jump back on a plane and head to South America and start the whole circus again.
And be making another one?
Be making another one, yep.
Lifespan for this, and I'm talking I'm suggesting that anything's going to go wrong, but the body could break down. How many more years have you got?
I keep putting a time frame on it, and I can't do it, because as long as I wake up in the morning, fired up to go kayaking and go to sleep and dream of it, I'm ready to go.
Ben Brown, you're a legend.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
for joining us.
Pleasure.